Hi, I'm Burton Gilliam, and I'd like to take you back 10,000 years. Before Anglo settlers arrived here, several indigenous tribes lived throughout Collin County. Evidence of dart points, grinding stones, and scrapers have been found, along with evidence of farming right here in this area. Arrowheads have also been discovered, suggesting the use of the bow and arrow as hunting tools. Native Americans eventually became more migratory, possibly due to a major drought or disease. They actively pursued hunting, fishing, and gathering. These tribes included the Delaware, Kiowa, Cherokee, Tawakoni, Caddo, and Wichitas. Anglo settlers began arriving in Allen as early as 1844. These early settlers included the Ford, Brown, and Wisnett families. Wash and Parmelia Ford, grandparents of Pete Ford, for whom an Allen Middle School is named, became the first couple to be married in Collin County on August 29, 1844. They homesteaded in the area around Mustang Branch, which is now the area near Joe Farmer Rec Center. In 1844, the last known violent conflict between the Indians and early Collin County settlers occurred. It has been said that the Comanche Indian tribe invaded from the west along Rowlett Creek near Greenville Avenue. Members of the Muncie, Jameson, and Rice families were killed during the raid. The conflict has become known as the Muncie Massacre. Wash Ford helped in burying the victims. A mass grave was constructed since digging tools at the time were scarce and primitive. In 1845, members of the peaceful Kiowa tribe settled in Collin County. They traded with the settlers and camped in the area now known as Allen Station Park. Now, legend has it that as the settlers' men went to fight in the Civil War, a Kiowa chief by the name of Spotted Tail and members of his tribe protected the farms around Collin County. They protected the settlers from attacks by other Native American tribes. Chief Spotted Tail died in 1873 after the war. When Civil War hostilities broke out in 1861, Collin County was one of a small number of counties that voted against secession from the Union. Many of the area's settlers who were from the border states such as Kentucky and Tennessee did not consider secession a viable alternative. However, Texas had voted to secede. With settlers still off at war, Collin County sent its sons, including Wash Ford, R.B. Wisnett, John Leiter Brown, and cousins William Nelson Bush and William Martin Bush to fight for the Confederacy. Wisnett was wounded but survived, and W.M. Bush kept a diary that described the war's horror. The Allen area was directly affected by the Civil War because of its natural surroundings. The abundantly flowing springs along Mustang Branch were a sufficient distance east of the known stage routes to make the surrounding thickets in the area a tempting hideout for the renegades. The infamous Quantrell gang made frequent stops near the Ford homestead to obtain food and fresh horses. Although they were known for their terrorist activities against the North, they were not sanctioned by the Confederacy because of the atrocities they committed against civilians. Quantrell was captured by Union troops in Kentucky in 1865 and died in prison. As the Civil War drew to a close, agricultural focus was on cattle, since crops would rot before they would reach their destination. Before the railroad, steers were driven to markets in the north along the Shawnee Trail, which is currently Preston Road. After the war, the Houston, Texas, and Central was able to construct a rail line from Dallas to Denison. Upon completion, it eliminated the need for the stage line that ran from McKinney to Dallas in a route that follows the existing Greenville Avenue. The railroad made possible the transport of crops to the rest of the country and Europe, which began the golden period of agriculture. The railroad needed a water supply for their steam engines, and in 1874 they purchased this land, located at Allen Station Park, from J.W. Franklin to create a lagoon to store that water. The water was conveyed to a storage tank that was located along the track. The stone dam and the pillars for the tank are still visible today. 1880 U.S. Census records indicate that a section house, or a type of bunkhouse, was also located on this site. Section Foreman J.S. Peters, his family, and other workers lived at the dam site. The workers were American, Irish, and German immigrants. Their responsibilities included pumping the water from the lagoon to the storage tank and then to the awaiting train. Then in 1876, Theodore Cossey, an engineer for the railroad, platted the town of Allen. The town was named for Ebenezer Allen, the last Secretary of State for the Republic of Texas and later an Attorney General for the state of Texas. The Baptist, Methodist, and Christian churches were soon organized, followed by the construction of the Cottonwood, Bethany, Mustang, Wetzel, and Allen schoolhouses. As Allen prospered, it began to attract outlaws. Sam Bass and his gang committed the first successful train robbery in Texas on Friday night, February 21st, 1878. Bass sent gang member Tom Spotswood to Bud Newman's saloon at the southeast corner of Main Street in the rail line. The southbound train number 4 was due in Allen at 8 o'clock p.m., but left Sherman 1 hour late. As the train approached the platform, 2 of the masked gunmen leaped onto the engine and surprised the fireman and William Sullivan, the train engineer. The fireman was forced to the express car while Sullivan was held near the engine. 2 other gunmen headed to the baggage and express car, where the Texas Express Company's messenger, Jim Thomas, had opened the door to transact business. The gunmen were surprised when Thomas met their demands to surrender with a hail of gunfire. Sullivan was ordered to separate the express car and the baggage car from the train. The bandits demanded his surrender or they were going to burn the car. Thomas said he would only surrender if the gunman promised not to kill him. Once the promise was made, Thomas opened the safe and he unloaded the money. Captain Junius Peak of the Texas Rangers was assigned the responsibility of capturing the Bass gang. Sam Bass was later killed in Round Rock, Texas, after a determined pursuit by the Rangers. Allen continued to be a noteworthy destination. In 1905, President Theodore Roosevelt became the only sitting president to visit the area. As Allen grew, a lack of roads and automobiles caused the need for a mass transit system. The Texas Traction Company built an electric interurban line through Allen in 1908, which became a valuable community resource. This system increased the mobility of mail and passengers to other cities. The interurban closed on December 31, 1948, and the original station still stands along Butler Drive. Communication came to the area in 1915 when the Allen Telephone Company opened on the second floor of the Woodman of the World building on Main Street. Residents would call the operators to look out the window to see if someone was at the drugstore and deliver a message. If a call had to be made at night, several attempts had to be made to awaken the operator. Major storms guaranteed outages because the wires were poorly installed, sometimes connected only by a nail to a tree. Residents were often forced to make their own repairs if they wanted service. Although Allen suffered a devastating fire in 1915 that burned the southern half of downtown, glimpses of growing prosperity were appearing with the construction of the Bacchus House, the First Christian Church, and the W.N. Waters House. Growth ended in Allen during the Depression and war years. However, in 1953, when the city of Allen was incorporated, residents realized that if Allen was to survive and thrive, they must improve the town's infrastructure. The highest priority was water, sewer, streets, and the telephone system. Virgil Watson was elected the first mayor. One of his first accomplishments was the acquisition of a privately owned water system using an artesian well. Longtime residents remember saving water because of anticipated outages. New water mains and fire hydrants were installed. Steps were taken to install a sewer system. These steps allowed residents to convert from septic tanks and outhouses to indoor plumbing. In the 1950s, the State Highway Department indicated it would build a new highway from Dallas to Denison if local towns could obtain the necessary right-of-way. One of Allen's first city council members, Oscar Ling, son-in-law of pioneer R.B. Wizardant, spearheaded this successful effort. When US 75 was built in 1960, it provided a critical link to the city of Dallas. The Allen Public Library opened in 1967 with the help of the Epsilon Sigma Alpha Service Organization. It was originally located in the Woodman of the World building and eventually moved to the Blue House that was the original Senior Citizen Center. Allen's first comprehensive plan was approved in 1985. The principles of that plan supported growth while maintaining the beauty of its park system, open space, and creek corridors. A survey was delivered to every resident to determine what direction Allen should pursue. A highly successful bond program further equipped the town with an infrastructure that encouraged population and employment growth. I think those early settlers would really be amazed at all the changes that this area has experienced over the years. And they'd be real proud to see that a fertile farming community could withstand hostile living conditions, survive a national war, and still settle peacefully with a wide variety of people to establish a thriving, modern city called Allen.